in fair Athens where we lay our scene. Barely a day in my marriage, and it appears some strange things have occurred. And so far, the individuals involved have provided explanations that seem troubling, to say the least. My husband, the Duke Theseus, has asked me to get to the bottom of this, to collect the statements from the persons of interest, and discover if they are truly victims of foul play, and if so, who they believe to be responsible. Our first person of interest is Lysander, a young Athenian nobleman involved in the happenings. Lysander, tell me, what happened on Midsummer Night?
It all started with my love for Hermia. I loved her so deeply, but her father, Aegeus, wanted her to marry Demetrius instead. First of all, that was absurd. I am just as good as Demetrius. Why Demetrius? The man was already engaged, for God's sake. I have just as much status as the man, and I actually had Hermia's heart. Does a father just not want to see his child happy? Well, then Aegeus sought out Theseus to force Hermia to marry Demetrius and make it a legal matter. Hermia could either marry Demetrius, become a nun, or die, per Theseus. The odds were stacked against us. The only way for our love and, well, Hermia to survive was if we ran away. And we did just that. We were going to be far away from everything and everyone who did not want to see us together. To be honest, I still am not quite sure what happened in the woods that night, but clearly there was chaos if I'm here speaking with you now. Am I right? I simply would have not found myself there if it wasn't for the position Hermia was put in. I did what I had to do.
And who do you think is responsible for this?
It was Theseus, of course. Theseus had every opportunity to step in and correct the way Aegeus was treating Hermia, which was like property. Aegeus was being irrational as a parent, I'll say that. But the Duke is truly at fault here. He took it too far. What happened to consent? Clearly Theseus doesn't know about it. I mean, he abducted you on the battlefield. Well, instead of helping the situation, Theseus sided with Aegeus. Why was he so invested in Hermia's life? I have no idea. I mean, he forced Hermia to choose between life with Demetrius, life as a nun, or no life at all. Theseus completely left me out of the equation solely because her father said so. He really wanted to sentence her to death because of a father-daughter argument. The only way Hermia and I could save our love, and Hermia's life for that matter, was to run away to my aunt's house through the woods to get married away from Theseus's rule. So thanks, Theseus. This one was all you.
I see you make a passionate argument here. I'm going to move on to your wife now. Thank you for your time. Lysander certainly gave us much to think about, but it's time to ask what Hermia thinks of all this. Hello, Hermia. Can you tell me what happened that night?
Well, I don't know what Lysander told you, but my horrible night started long before today. At first, I thought it was my father, Aegeus, that was at fault for all my sorrow. He wanted to force me to marry Demetrius, but my heart belongs to Lysander. We decided to run away together into the woods to escape the constraints of society and to love each other. But the second we fell asleep together in the woods, everything changed. My eyes were plagued by nightmares, and a massive serpent was eating my heart while Lysander stood there and did nothing. And then when we woke up, Lysander had transformed into a man that seemed to have lost our love, and even worse, fallen for my friend Helena. After facing my father in a battle to keep my love for Lysander, I now had to face Helena as a challenge. As the time in the woods went on, finally Lysander pulled his senses together and regained his passion for me. I knew our love was worth fighting for, and we ended up joining Helena and Demetrius back in Athens for the wedding party.
I noticed you don't seem to hold much ill will towards Theseus, my husband. Do you disagree with Lysander?
Of course, it isn't as simple as blaming our current duke. It is all of Athens that is to blame. I know my father would have never forced my hand in marriage if it wasn't for Athenian tradition and law. We would have never gone into the woods at all if the law had not demanded my life, my death, or my vow of chastity. Lysander knew that if we could reach his beloved aunt beyond the prison of Athens, then I would be free to decide my own fate, to marry the man I loved, not the man my father approved of. The chaos in the woods would have never ensued if my father didn't have to abide by these cruel and heartless Athenian laws, causing us to run away. And so far, for that reason, I blame Athens for this chaos. All else that has happened is simply a symptom, and though I admit I cannot truly explain how the woods cause such nightmares or misplaced passions, if it stands to reason that the emotional turmoil of fleeing our lives is the cause of it.
Interesting. Thank you. You may be right that the society of Athens is backward and cruel, but that is par for the course. What unsettles me is the description of your time in the woods. I have heard that our woods have recently become the home of someone I used to know thoroughly, but I can't seem to get a hold of him. Perhaps his wife can illuminate the subject. It's been a long time, my queen. Last I heard, you and your husband were headed to India, but just when I discovered my new citizens raving about some cursed woods, it turns out you've been in the neighborhood. What on earth are you doing here?
Well, to be quite honest with you, it's been a strange few days. Not to mention, my husband sucks. I don't even know if I want to reward him with that title anymore. Ugh. Anyways, you get to play the role of my therapist. So, Oberon and I have been having some issues. First, he tried to steal my changeling child from me, so I came back here to raise him. You wouldn't even believe me if I got into the nitty-gritty details of what I'm about to tell you. So, we'll just cut to the chase. I had an odd and terrible dream, and when I woke up the next day, there was an ass-headed man next to me. And to make matters worse, then there's Oberon standing there mocking me. Did I mention he sucks?
I see. And do you believe that your lover's spat could explain what happened here last night?
Without a shadow of a doubt. Well, now you've asked for it. I'll let you in on the nitty-gritty details. Oberon took great glee in explaining to me about love and idleness and how he allowed his mischievous Puck to deceive me and several Athenian youths. He's lucky he didn't put Puck up to a more dangerous task, like, say, a hitman. Half of Athens would be dead as a result of his mischief and obliviousness. Oberon was so hell-bent on stealing my changeling boy that he somehow managed to reason, drugging me and tricking me into falling madly in love with an ass-headed man. Strange to say the least, but can you believe it, Hippolyta? My own Oberon reasoned a way to cast a spell on me, trick me, embarrass me, demean and degrade me, all over wanting to steal my changeling child? We're definitely going to need some couples therapy after this one. That is, if he ever gets out of the doghouse. I mean, really. He tricked me into falling madly in love with an ass. Hold on. No. Oberon's the real ass, and his servant Puck is incapable of saying no to his silly little requests, not to mention how horrible he is at following through with them. It only took him, 3 tries to make things right between those Athenian, lovers? Sorry, I guess I really need to get that off my chest. Anyways, back to your question, yes. Our little lover spat, to say the least, could explain.
The talk of an ass man certainly makes a certain weaver's foolish tale seem a bit more sane. I suppose I have to bring him in next. I have conversed with the fairy queen, and she spoke of a man with the head of an ass. Your theater troupe was overheard earlier claiming that you yourself had been transformed. Bottom the Weaver, can you tell me just exactly what happened to you?
Ah, You want to know what happened to me? What happened to me that night? Let Bottom take care of it. Let Bottom get to the bottom of this. Yes. So I'm minding my business with my lads. We're out practicing the play. Well, I mean, I don't practice. I never need to practice. I'm simply a performance just on my own. But anyway, practice was very necessary for my other fellows. And now that I think about it, if that light in the loafers, Mr. Peter Quince, had just let me play every single part, we wouldn't be in this mess. But I should watch it on the Infinite Insults. My name is quite literally Bottom, so you don't have much to say, but my point still stands. Anyway, the story is as follows. Everyone is rehearsing, and I step into the woods for a brief moment. I come back, and everyone runs disgusted as if I had just flashed them my bare ass. Come to find out, that was close to the case. But I couldn't understand my friend's fear. I mean, I'm surely not personally biased, but I'm quite handsome, dashingly handsome even, and confident, not overconfident, right? No, don't go answering that. I don't like hearing dishonesty or having wounded pride. Back to the story. So my silly friends go in their silly ways, screaming the whole time, and then suddenly, as soon as I'm left alone in the woods, the most beautiful woman appears before me and is enamored with me. I mean, I don't blame her, but I was slightly confused since we had just met, but maybe, then again, I tend to have that effect on people. Before I know it, we are back at her place having a very, very good time. I will spare you of the details, but I will say my name may be Bottom, but I was surely on top that night. Wait, is this supposed to be PG? Don't show my kids. Well, no, actually, I don't have any kids. I'm still a bachelor, if the other ladies were wondering. Yes.
You are not upset that your head was transformed. Then what angers you?
Maybe I was an asshole for a night. Maybe my head was inside my own ass. But she did not care. By the way, came to find out this lovely lady, this beautiful woman of mine who was enamored with me, if I didn't mention. Her name's Titania. Anyway, she loved me at my worst, my rock bottom, some even might say. And yes, pun intended. She treated me like a king, even had her little attendees waiting on me, serving me the finest. So no, I was not upset my head was transformed at all. My baby, my lady, did not care. What angers me is, for lack of a better word, I was cockblocked. By who of all people? Oh, the big and mighty Oberon. Suddenly, whatever. I don't even care to say his name. Can't even get it right. Suddenly, when your wife falls for another, let's say more grounded, in my opinion, better man, you want her back? Okay. People think you can talk in the light of night, but I am no light sleeper. I heard everything. No flower did this. No. I am all about consent, and Titania was all over me. But Oberon couldn't handle some healthy competition. Maybe because he knew against Gloria's Bottom he would lose. He forced me to fail, and really I could have done this without the magic. Anyway, I may have been the ass, but Oberon was the asshole. Okay? Thank you. Anyway, if there's anyone single, whenever this airs, let me know, ladies, hey?
All right. Thank you for your time. This was illuminating, to say the least. You are dismissed. I have other business. Hey, get that.
Okay, I don't know if y'all are even seeing this, because this was off the record. I kind of had to steal the camera, had to work my little magic, as Bottom, but I have one last thing I need to say, okay? You need to listen to me. I don't have much time, but please believe me when I say fairies are real. They exist. They are real. Do not let them fool you. Don't let them lie to you. Fairies are real. I don't have much time because I have a date. in a couple of seconds because ladies really liked me on TV. I mean, I can't blame them, but I don't have much time. But fairies are real. For Christ's sake, one fell in love with me. Do not believe the lies. Fairies are real. Okay, and if there's any more fairies that are seeing this, hit me up. Titania, hey. Never got your number. Okay, anyway, they're real. They're real.
Now that the weaver is finally gone, it is time to see what makes the lovely Helena despair the day after her wedding. Helena, what troubles you?
I know that I should be grateful that I could wed my love, my Demetrius, but that does not erase the torment I have gone through. Demetrius was in love with me first, was engaged to me first. He made love to me and pledged oaths of devotion, and I gave him my virginity. But Demetrius spurned me, spit upon me, and begged Aegeus for the hand of my best friend Hermia, knowing full well that she wanted nothing to do with him. But I still loved him so much that I betrayed Hermia's confidence when she told me her plan to flee, informing Demetrius that Hermia was in the woods, even trying to help find her. He was cruel. Even as I begged like a dog, he shouted at me, said that I made him sick, that he would like to leave me to the wild beasts or kill me. To put that aside because he has married me now would be insanity.
But in the end, you and your beloved Hermia both were wedded to the men you wanted right here beside me. Why does this incident matter so much?
How can I be happy with my husband, knowing what cruelty he is capable of? If you think the worst of it was his threats, then consider the debasement of him corralling Lysander into tormenting me. Lysander pretended to flatter me, tried to touch me, pledged false devotions to me, while mocking the very woman he ran away with. Demetrius sent him to flout my insufficiency, and when I did not break, he himself appeared to pretend his love as well. And if that was not enough, he set my beloved Hermia against me, and the sister of my heart became part of a conspiracy to ruin me. She tried to cloud my eyes. She played the part of a woman scorned. I know that Demetrius orchestrated all of it. He wished to mock me for pursuing him, give me psychological pain for daring to object to his indifference. He wanted me to be brought low, so that the next morning, when he awoke and proclaimed to you that he had only left me while in sickness, but would forever be true to me now, I felt I had no choice but to wed him to prove that he would not leave me again. But that does not mean I trust him. He is mine own and not mine own. He's the one who's responsible for all this.
One cannot be so quick to assume your husband bears you ill will, but I promise you that I will make sure Demetrius explains himself to me. I have just spoken with your wife, and Demetrius. It appears that you played a very cruel trick on her, twisting her heart and besmirching her virginity, trying to force your friend to give up his love. What do you have to say for yourself?
Hippolyta, there has been a grave misunderstanding. We are all fools here, every single one of us. We're blaming each other, throwing accusations at the innocent, but it is the supernatural that has caused all of this. I admit, I was a player, I was loose with my morals, but I'm not capable of causing such disruptions. Do you all not see the chaos that has completely absorbed us and our surroundings over the past few days? The events of last night were of no human capacity. What I know is that before last night, I was completely smitten with Hermia. I would not have pursued her into those woods otherwise. But now I feel nothing for her, and I can't take my eyes off Helena, who, in all honesty, annoyed me beyond belief just a few days ago. I, of course, love her now, and we are married and devoted, but such a change of love like that does not make sense. I mean, the seasons are backwards, and the weather is crazy. None of this is humanly possible, which means there is a supernatural source.
You truly believe that this change of heart was not your own? That whatever is changing nature itself chose to change you too. Sounds as if you're trying to cover up the actions made while your head was full of wine.
With all due respect, drunk foolishness cannot be blamed for any of this. I know every single one of us has a feeling that something bigger is going on, and I know what everyone here is too afraid to admit. But I'll say it, there are spirits corrupting these woods, and mischievous fairies among us. There are supernatural fairies right here, and there's only one person to blame, Puck. You might not believe me, you might call me a madman, but Puck is a trickster, and he is guilty of all that has happened. I doubt you'll catch him, but I encourage you to try.
On the surface, you may think me hard-pressed to chase down this lead, but you cannot forget that I am an Amazon first, a wife second. Tracking Puck is easily done, and he will answer to me. Hello, Sir Trickster. Your exploits have reached my ears, and it appears that you have moved beyond frightening maidens and stealing boots. What do you have to say for yourself?
Oh, me? No, absolutely nothing. I don't know anything. Why would I know anything to do with anything to do with the lovers of the forest that night? Like, you know, the foolish mortal is the more foolish queen, the most foolish ass. Can't say it wouldn't shake the hand of whoever's responsible, though. It's true, I was in the forest that night. I saw his handiwork. Seems like he'd be like a cool guy. Like a cool guy with a sense of humor. You know, fun at parties and stuff. Probably, like, incredibly handsome, too.
You witnessed it, you say, but I know better. You aren't going to let someone else take credit for such fine work, are you?
Okay, fine, it was me. You got it. Let's be honest, though, we all knew it was me. Nobody else could have orchestrated such fine, delicious chaos the way I did. Fair flesh, your royalty are all just sticks in the mud. And here you might be tempted to say, oh, Puck, but you served King Oberon. He told you to do those things. You're so innocent. You did nothing wrong. That's where I'm gonna have to stop you. Because as if Oberon would ever punish me for anything. No amount of disobedience could get me out of his good graces. I screwed up literally the one thing he asked me to do that night. I magicked Lysander instead of Demetrius, and what does he do? A couple stern words and he goes and does it himself. And I love the king, really, but Oberon dictates exactly 0% of my day. I'm a free agent, and I'm not influenced by base things like love or lust or envy the way everyone else in Athens is. I do what I want, when I want. And I'm a simple fairy. What I want is very simple. With all my magic and all my autonomy, all I want is to turn people into donkeys and ruin people's love lives. It's that simple. It's that easy. And in case you forget, I'm powerful, too. I'm the reason for all the chaos that night. I'm the reason it all returned to normal by morning. Without me, this midsummer night is just boring. Flat. I'm the only fun, the only excitement, the only person here that actually matters. The only reason anyone here has anything of interest in their lives. Without me, your lives mean nothing. Aren't you grateful?
Enough with the dramatics, Robin Goodfellow. Remove yourself from the room, but do not wander far. I have much to think about. We have been given much to think about. The nobility points fingers at each other, at parents, at the city herself. The fairy queen has been laid low by her husband, and a simple weaver was raised up to be her consort. The mischievous Puck would like us to think that he's the mastermind, and that all the others have danced to his tune. The truth is never as simple as that. In every case here, there is a common thread. These players instead relying on trickery, shame, and revenge to get their way. It is true that powerful forces such as magic and the law are partially to blame, but they are mere instruments of the true antagonist, the lack of respectful communication. Whether it is denying a young woman her right to make a decision regarding her future, having a power standoff with a wife, or perhaps even stealing a woman from her home to make her a bride. If everyone regarded each other with equality and respected them as such, these problems would have been easily solved. So, my dear Theseus, these are my findings. Listen to those you may consider subordinate, and communicate with them respectfully, taking their desires into account. Perhaps then, the world would not be quite so distraught.